Welcome back to Weekend Express. We are discussing challenges journalists face in society while covering various important stories. Here in the country, the repeat presidential election was a historic event for the country. During the repeat presidential election, chaos were reported in Nairobi's Kawangware estate, where reporter Trix Singado covered the event. Take a look at what unfolded there.
Video footage coming out of Kawangware late in the evening showed fires burning in the market and on the streets as residents reported random attacks on people walking in the streets. Youth out in the streets seemingly at a loss as to how to vent their frustrations over what some here termed as an unacceptable political status quo.
Hawatangazi, wanasema ni kuzuri lakini huku ni kubaya. Ni kubaya sana. Tumechoka kuibiwa. Chenye mimi nasema tumechoka kuibiwa. Tunataka tu haki itendeke. Kama ni baba waseme siku yenye baba tunapigia baba kura.
Sisi mambo yenye tunataka hivi. Tumeona hii kura yote ni wizi. Sisi yenye tunataka penye tumefika wafungue tu sava mambo iishe. Mtu mwenye ameshinda ndio tuone hapo.
But security sources at the scene were having none of that, if, as they said, it meant the destruction of property like this local apartment building whose windows had been reduced to smithereens.
Walikuja kwa barabara pale vijana, wakaanza kurusha mawe. Kukakuja askari wa IP, wakakuja wakawapuza. Baadaye kulikuja na watu wengine kama CD, wakawaita Mungiki. Sasa walipokibizana na wao Mungiki askari, vijana ndio wakapata chance ya kuanza kuvunja ngoroba iliko pale Pio.
And so the police held fort, blockading this section of Kawangware 46, keeping protesters at bay with tear gun canisters shot towards the marauding crowd every now and then when it threatened to surge forward. Some had a bone to pick, however, with the police, alleging a door-to-door operation that was enforced with undue force.
Kawangware tunadeclare tukisema polisi watolewe Kawangware. Tuko na haki ya kuandamana Nairobi hii. Hawana haki ya kusimama kutupiga. Wale Mungiki wametoka kwa gari hapo, polisi hawezi kuwa na rasta. Na tutaki. Tumekataa.
Caucasian members of the press too had been warned to keep off by some of the angry youth who'd branded them international election observers. All the accusation flying back and forth, tension, heavy police presence, angry youth, and the press presenting the perfect audience for the perfect showdown soon amounted in the perfect recipe for full-blown chaos. The press was not spared, as some of the protesters turning on members of the media brandishing rocks and trying to snatch away equipment while the police were preoccupied. While the KTN crew on the ground managed to fight off the goons who were after equipment and with the help of other pressmen escaped without injury, a mobile phone was taken from yours truly and 6,000 shillings stolen from another journalist. Trix Singado, KTN News.
All right, well, Trix Singado now joins us in the studio. It was very difficult for us to reach her without a phone, but I thank you for making it to Weekend Express this morning. Talk to us about your experience in Kawangware. I mean, in the midst of all the chaos, the KTN crew was also attacked to some extent. What really happened?
Well, we had gone there to cover. We did some live links, as usual, when you go to a situation. But at the beginning, it was just tense, you know, and that is a problem that I usually find really difficult to deal with, because when you arrive at the area, like you heard the man say, they say huku wanasema ni kuzuri but si kuzuri, ni kubaya. So it's like they want there to be chaos, but they also want you to show it. So you are at a loss. If I start showing this, then things escalate. Right. If I keep away my cameras, then things remain the same, you know, tense but not explosive. So when we got there, it was tense. There were crowds of people along the road, a lot of rowdy youths, but they weren't doing anything. Earlier on, they had been attacking businesses, but they hadn't, you know, gotten to a point where they were attacking each other and people and journalists. But after we did cover and some other stations even joined us and started going live. It seemed, like I said, we presented the perfect audience for an escalation, and then the emotions just go high, and people come out of the woodwork saying that the police have done this to us. And you know, there are various facets to this story. We are having the police saying that these people are attacking businesses, and we cannot have any of that. Then we are having the people saying that we are aggrieved by the political situation and we want our voices to be heard, and at the same time they're saying these policemen are doing this to us. And then we're having the police also and the business side, the people who have been affected with the business losses, saying these youths are attacking our businesses based on our ethnic background, and we have to retaliate. So you have to go and cover all three sides: the police, the youths who are saying they're aggrieved, and at the same time, you know, the people who have the business community, the real business community. So it's a really delicate balance. And at the same time, we are having people there who are watching your every move, not the police, just maybe people who are trying to take advantage of or eyeing your equipment. So I think that's what happened when things really escalated. And when you look at the first part of the story, when it now escalates, that's when we were actually attacked, because the rocks were flying from one side and tear gas was flying from the other side. So the police were preoccupied. They're no longer looking out for you to protect you. They're dealing with the protesters and the rowdy youth. And so I think out of the protesters came another group that wanted to take our equipment, and it was a huge fight, because I was with an intern who was having the live equipment. He really had to fight them off because he was attacked by 4 people. One wanted to take his phone, the other had his hands deep in his pockets, the other wanted to take the equipment he was with, and the people that came for me, one was brandishing a huge rock against my head, and the other one had grabbed me and was taking the phone away. My cameraman ran for it because, you know, the equipment is really expensive. So you have to, you weigh the situation, protect it. At the same time, it happens so fast, you can't really think of trying to defend yourself, defend your partner, or run off and be safe. And at the same time, the area you're running to is the area to the police is where the rocks are flying to. Right. So it was chaotic, and I felt like it's like our bosses always tell us, no story is worth your life. So if it's the phone they want, I let them have it. And then they turned their attention to the intern who was trying to put up a fight, but luckily enough, before they could get the stuff out of his hands, some people intervened and said, achaneni na press, hawana shida na nyinyi. So those guys ran off and let us be. Right.
Attacks like these, and we'll come back to that, Trix, because we also had Sophia Wanuna still covering this election in Kibra area, and she was live, and one of the residents there said, hatutaki KTN hapa, for one reason or the other, and she had to go off air for quite a while. Do you think these, similar attacks, because knowing I work for KTN and I'm likely going to be sent to this very same region again next time to cover a story there, do they hinder journalists from telling the truth and painting the right picture of the situation on the ground?
Thank you. Trix, have you ever attended any safety class as a journalist?
Yes, we have.
Because what we are saying, there's already a course for safety for journalists. And we have had all media houses to sign and say they will expose their journalists to safety. I mean, basic safety, so that then they save themselves. But having said that, attacks against journalists is the biggest challenge to the work of a journalist. And big time, they affect the quality, quantity, and amount of stories journalists give. It has been used globally, and in Kenya here, to stop journalists from showing the truth. And it's a very frustrating environment. So studies have been done. Factually, we have seen that if you want to push censorship in media, start by harassing journalists. Because we've already been told there's no story worth your life. But you as a journalist, there's a big public interest story you want really to show. But here you're also heeding your call to save. So you have already killed a story, not because you don't have facts, but because your life is under threat. We have, I mentioned, we have a number of our own journalists here. I mean, many times when Muhammad was here, Muhammad Ali, Honorable Muhammad Ali, and or General Amnam, they will tell you how many times we had to take them to safe houses to get them out of the country for their own safety, many times. How many of our media houses can afford that, for example? It's quite a big challenge. So for many times, we have seen we have to hinder journalists from doing stories, especially investigative stories they would have done on public interest because their safety is at hand. So yes, it's a big time, and which we need to address. And that's why you have seen, I mean, most of our media houses, they have killed the investigative department, simply because it's unsustainable. It needs a lot, in addition to the money for movement, but you need a lot to protect your own journalists against what you are raising. So we need to rethink. I know now a number of people have moved away from investigative journalism simply because of their safety. I know I get a lot of stories where guys have good stories. You see these are public, but they will show you an SMS and say, when I called so-and-so to give a comment, this is what, show it and you will see. Right. And especially at the counties, it's a big problem. It's not even a national problem because at a national level, you can handle it. KTN, because tricks was harassed, he's here on the, but a guy working for a community radio in Siaya, in Kwale, in Marsabit, in Garissa, he's threatened, has nowhere, nobody to show it on TV. We have a journalist currently, as we are talking, it's called Basil. Basil is now in a hospital. He was actually, he has internal head injuries. He was working for Melambo FM in Migori. We are fundraising currently because he's fractured his head and we have nobody showing it. We had a radio station in Migori called Onegi FM that is off air, where people just went to the station, beat up all the guys. One of the journalists has gone missing. I mean, we don't know if he crossed to Tanzania or not. We don't know, and nobody's showing that. But at least at a national level, we can, when Francis Gashuri, Gatwiri, or Rashid were roughed up, at least people came together, they had give this a statement, media owners, everybody. But who is talking for the community radio station, for the freelancers, for the people outside? So it's a huge problem that we are seeing in the country. Averagely, between April and today, I have received about 22 cases of journalists across the country who have, I mean, you remember even on 26th and 27th when the results were having, journalists in Samburu were thrown out by the returning officer, journalists in Lamu, Moroe were thrown out, journalists in Mandera were thrown out, I mean, out of the polling station. And you are not being thrown out, I mean, in a good way. You are thrown out physically. So these are serious cases that the Kawangware Madare was the epitome of it, but it's happening across. Though sometimes, while the studies are showing political stories lead in terms of threats, but sometimes you will find that some of those people who attack journalists do not attack you sometimes because you are KTN or NTV or that's simply the level of poverty in our area. Sometimes somebody just knows the phone is expensive or the camera. He wants just the equipment to go and sell. So sometimes just, and in our safety classes, that's what we are telling journalists, that as you go to some areas, check, you are putting on a bling-bling, gold chain, you are putting, how safe are you? So sometimes it forces you to put on a batangoma rubbers, sometimes Tata jeans, simply because of the environment. I mean, some of these phones, we have to throw them off. So self-assessment of a situation, when I'm being sent to a particular area, you quickly as a journalist, go through your head and say, if I'm going to such an area, how do I need to? Your life at the end. I mean, so that's why I was talking about the presence issue, that some of us are not present. I'm being sent to a particular area like a political rally. Most of our political rallies never end in peace, largely. So you are going there, but you had gone to the office maybe in high heel, putting on smartly. But once you are told you are going to Uhuru Park for a rally, you quickly go to your desk, change.
No, but seriously, no one would go in heels, to be fair.
I have seen in Westgate, you can tell your producer to show the KTN, and it was a KTN reporter at Westgate bomb attack in a miniskirt. It is there, I mean, it's documented. We are not singling out anything, but this is just a general comment that quite a number of our colleagues, when you are sent to an environment, you quickly do a check in your head and say, I mean, you remember yourself, the High Court. You know, there's some situation, I'm going to deal with crowds. Nobody has crowd some of those politicians cannot even control those crowds. They have no business.
All right. But, you know, let's talk about issues of perception, Victor, because there are some areas where you, as a journalist, approach and they tell you, we do not want any media here because when this and this was happening last time, you guys did not show it because when this and this was happening last time, you guys only showed it in our area. And that was witnessed a lot in areas of Madare and Huruma and the larger Nyanza regions, many of them during the August 8th elections. The Kenyan media did not show the true picture of what was going on in our areas. And for that reason, we do not want the media here. But while making the decision of whether to show this or not to show this, you also think again of what threats are coming in. Yes. You know, who is this? Whose stores am I going to step on while doing this? So, Trix, how difficult is this, especially, you know, in the situation in Kawangware, knowing which story to show? Sometimes the crowd puts up a show just because there's a camera
particularly,
there.
Because like in Kawangware, we did have international press, and you know they really love emotive pictures, and you could actually tell the guy from the picture who got shot with water from the side. At first, he had showed up with a baby. I think a 4-month baby in one hand. He was weeping, and he had a Bible in the other hand, and he was telling a story that most of us felt was not adding up, but the international media were really eating it up, lapping it up, So the police actually advised us. They told us such people, they're trying to find popularity. They're trying to make their way into the public domain. So please don't capitalize on him. Just show whatever you want to show, but don't, because this is really emotive and can actually cause chaos in other parts of the country. And then we're having some people saying, like you said, they want hamtuonyeshi hapa mnaonyesha Nyanza tu na Migori na Siaya. We want all you guys to show us too. So there's that perspective. But then when you go there, you're also in danger. So I mean, it also affects you how neutral you would be in, or how for it you would be to go there and just show the story. There's an incident in Kawangware. We had a man who kept following us around, and he had a set of earphones in his ears, but they were leading nowhere. They were just dangling off of his side. So he was just eavesdropping, trying to hear what side we are leaning on from our conversations with our colleagues. He trying to find out, I think, in case we would sound like we are for a political side that is not supported in Kawangware, it would have been bad for us. But then after a while, he moves to a gang or a group of youths next to the road and says, wakopoa, you know. So literally people are trying to figure out which side you're leaning on, you know. And also, there's a time I went to Burundi and we had officials of the National Party with us throughout. 100% of the time they were with us. So, you know, we are having a situation. I would also ask them, how can we speak to the opposition? Because you can't just have a one-sided story. They tell us, wako msituni. So, I mean, I'm going to tell the story, yes, as a journalist, and I'm in a foreign country that has been, you know, said to have a bit of, it's not the most secure country in the world, and I want to tell a story from both sides, but it's really difficult because you also have to consider your own safety. I can't really insist on going to the bush to find some opposition person who has run away for their own safety. So, and you're with them, even when you're doing a live link, the guy is standing right next to you, listening.
To what you're saying.
So tell me, how will you be? You would try to infuse some neutrality in your storytelling, but at the same time, you're a human being and safety first. So definitely, I would say that the story wouldn't be 100% from both sides.
Yeah, and that is when, because we will have a viewer here who's asking a good question, Victor. Do journalists stand for the truth? Another one asking, why do they take bribes to cover and tilt the news with such attacks and such an environment that really is seemingly a global environment?
Yeah, and exactly, for a situation like that, whereby you're fearing for your life and then your story seems one-sided because you actually cannot find the other person, or the other person has run away because they're fearing for their lives. You would seem like you're leaning on one side, and someone would just assume that you've been bribed, so you're telling one side of it. But there are various nuances to reporting, and sometimes you cannot be 100% balanced, not because you are for a particular side, or you support one side of the divide. You just cannot operate really to 100% capacity because of the situation and your safety and the dangers, and like he said, some of the threats. Of course, the journalist who has been threatened and is in the Bundus would probably kill that story, and someone would wonder, I told this journalist about this and he just went missing with the story. So, you know, it's not always about bribes, you know.
It's an environment. And maybe Victor, even as we wind up, so how do we remedy this solution? Because it seems to be a downward spiral in terms of media perception and confidence in the reports we see in the media.
I think the issue of corruption might be there, just like in other professions and other sectors. But every time a journalist does a story at this angle or this, and people reduce it to bribes, I get irritated because that's not the point all the time.
Right.
I mean, if you look at, and we are doing those things called media literacy, we want people to understand the news gathering process. It's not just Trix just goes to Kawangware, picks anything. I mean, he's guided. It's a whole team of people who has bribed all these people in that process. So sometimes people also need to be fair and frank that journalism is not an easy job as people think, where you just carry a camera. And I mean, if you look at what she has described, you are balancing the law, your own life, the stories, and all balancing. It's not an easy thing as people think. It's a heavy responsibility where we need to give journalists support. If you have a case where a journalist has been bribed and have evidence, there are laws in Kenya. Bring to the Media Council and Corruption Commission, and they're arrested. We can't hide in this thing every time journalists are bribed, journalists are bribed. It doesn't. If you have any case that a journalist has been bribed, take it to the police, CID, anti-corruption or whatever, and action is taken. But we need to give our journalists support to do the work they are doing.
Right. It's
a very difficult, I mean, you remember in class we are told journalism is not for the feeble-minded.
Yes.
You know, it's hard. So we need to give them, and also appreciate that journalists work in a bigger media industry. That as you go to work, you are balancing the interests of the editors, the truth, the advertisers, the whole thing. So I tell people, journalists are equally frustrated. Sometimes you bring a story, tomorrow it's not there. I mean, and you feel so frustrated. You wasted your 8 hours, risk your life in Kawangware, wherever, and you come and sorry. It was for whatever reason. Right. I mean, so it's not like journalists are very happy that if they were bribed, we wouldn't be seeing journalists who are working in matatus and every day. If it's that rampant, I mean, we'll be owning villas and everywhere, and nobody will be working.
Right.
So people need to also to appreciate and be fair that this is a difficult job that people are going through. We need to give journalists support. Give them, if you have information, help them. When they are going to work, protect them. We must, these are our daughters and sons. So if we are going to harass them and stop them from working, how do they earn?
And of course, it is, you know, the gateway pretty much to the freedom of information,
yes.
you know, and the right to information in the country. Thank you so much for joining us on this conversation. Unfortunately, we're out of time. We've been speaking to Victor Bwire, who is the Programs Manager at the Media Council of Kenya, and Trix Ngado, who is a reporter right here on KTN News. And that conversation now brings us to a close on this edition of Weekend Express. Do keep the conversation going on our social media platforms. The hashtag is Weekend Express KTN. It's a good morning for me, Ashley.
And I'm Ashley, of course, as Michelle Fade. Don't forget to see you, keep it KTN News. See you tomorrow, same place, same time.
We're still getting more questions.
Yeah.